Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday. I hope you all had a very good week and are ready to wind down to some degree and put in those extra shifts and extra hours on this weekend, refining, making, small tweaks or going over trades and all these things, because that's where the real lessons are learned and where the real development occurs, right? So let's jump into the daily time frame again and begin to break down what we were looking at today. So overall, the main thing that our eyes, or the main concept that our eyes were focused on yesterday and today, was whether price was going to close below this sell side liquidity or not, right? Because if we closed below this, it gave us a trigger more or less to start looking for lower prices, right? If we induce this low, we're starting to make bearish structure, so to speak. We're creating bearish flows, and we'd want to be trading in line with that. But we can see now that price isn't breaking that, and we're now in this scenario where we are stuck within this range, right? So the simple playbook that you have here now, right? A lot of people overcomplicate this. Are we going to go higher? Are we going to go lower, right? If we start taking out these areas here and we body close, then you have your confirmations to start looking to trade buy side liquidity pro stage, right? If not, if we body close below, then you have these areas to target and you look for new arrays to form, right? If we body close below this, right, like that, you look for new arrays to form and you short into there. Simple. Right, we don't need to overcomplicate it. That's what a lot of people tend to do a lot, just overcomplicate it. Start on your daily time frame. Look at the range you're working with. Look at the range you're working with. Look at the PA that is being printed and find the most probable scenario. And I know I've made it sound super simple, but yeah. So ideally, if we are going to go higher, we need to see new arrays being formed to the upside, bullish imbalances, intent, etc. If not, the same but to the downside, and yeah, this becomes more or less our local low that we can target, and this becomes our final drawn liquidity, and we form this kind of sell model, right, where this would be your buy side curve and then this would be some kind of sell side curve, right? So that's what we're doing there. Or again, if you're quick on the ball, you could see something like this occurring, right, with this being now your buy side curve to complete this buy model, right? Yeah, you just need to be adaptive. These are not the best conditions. So yeah, that's it on the daily. Let's just get, in fact, we can keep this little range on, right? Boom, boom, just keeping it super simple here, gents. So 4 hour, you see that if we start the week here, right, we get this bearish move to the downside, right? We tap into this array right here. You see we get this small imbalance. We tap into the proximal line of that. We attempt to push higher. We get this kind of buy side trigger right here, but it doesn't give us any significant follow through. You see, we don't leave any arrays that price can tap into on this H4, and we just slam through it, which wasn't ideal, right? The ideal scenario, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in one of the other videos, would have been to see something like this, target these relatively equal highs here, and this buy side liquidity pool that we had up here. That would have been textbook, and that would have been the best play, right? That would have been perfect. However, we don't get that, right? Rather, what we get is price dump into the downside, right? We leave behind bearish imbalances, like such, one, and then two. This one here and this one here, but you see that the one on top is the inefficiency, right? That's that larger one. So that's where our eyes are focused on. And if you really wanted to, you could pop up a little BPR, little swift and nifty BPR, tiny, right? Which I'm not going to put on, but you can see it, it's there, right? To some degree, it's there. It looks like less than a pip. So I'm not even going to put that on there. But yeah, these are things you want to be paying attention to. You see that price taps into that imbalance, right? We leave new intent, and we are trading into the difficulty here is that you're getting bearish flows, but you're tapping into this area of sell side liquidity. And you're at that point where you need to start waiting for feedback. It's, as much as you can play scalps in here, your main focus is trying to see is price moving into cheaper areas on your chart to pick up new liquidity. Because look, we tap into this array that we mentioned right over here. We attempt to find buyers, right, and inject new liquidity. It fails, and that means if we can't find buyers here, what is price going to have to do to find new buyers? Where is the next area that buyers may be found, right? At cheaper areas on your chart, at new areas of liquidity. And the only logical, or the next logical area of liquidity on our chart was at these lows over here, where price was deemed as cheap, where buyers can begin to step in. And you can see that they did, right? At least when sellers were bringing price to this level, you can see they begin to get absorbed right here, right? We haven't seen any follow through just yet to show buyers stepping in aggressively, but that is a potential that we can begin to look out for. So yeah, bringing our focus back to what occurred today. So price, we had two scenarios. If I just bring price back to here, right, this is more or less just before our London open. So this is, 2 a.m. I think UK time. Yeah, so you're looking at your Asia session. What you have here is this array, which didn't do much, right? We tap into this. So here we tap into this array, right? We respect it, we push lower, we create this new array. And ideally you want to see price kind of leave this low open, right? As a weak low. Price take out buy side liquidity and then roll over and target that, right? And carry on with the recent flows that have been present in the market. Or you can trade a move like this, where if we leave this open, right, where you take out this sell side liquidity here and try and trade into that array. But this is really the only place you can trade towards, right? So I hope that makes sense. So that was our kind of playbook on the day, the scenarios that we had marked out. So if we drop down to the hourly now, we can see what actually happened. I want you to just keep your eyes peeled on this 4-hour chart here. So as we navigate the 1 hour, just keep your eyes peeled on how we form on the 4-hour over here, right? So we come to the desk today and we say, cool, this is our sell side liquidity. There's a potential that price takes this out first. If this does get taken out first, we have potential to, flip over and target this and this, right? And understand that again, we're in unfavorable conditions, or conditions that we didn't plan for, and therefore we only want to be targeting local areas of liquidity. So if price protracts to the downside and takes out this area and this area, this Asia low and sell side liquidity, I want to be targeting Asia high, right? For basically all of my position get fully out. If it's the other way where we take this out, right, I want to be targeting Asia low to get the majority of my position out. So let's see what price does. Right, so you see, boom, 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 boom. Let's go back here. So price taps into this bearish imbalance, but as I'm sure a lot of you know, that this is an imbalance that was formed in Asia, right? And the imbalances in Asia, what you have to understand is that the amount of volume that is present in the market and the state of the books, right? You have to understand that liquidity is absorbing power. So if price is transacting, let's say this is a new candle that's just opened, right? If there's a lot of liquidity in the books, it takes more power, or it takes more money and effort to move price up or down. Whereas if there's low liquidity, it takes a lot less effort to push price down or up, meaning that, I'm trying to explain this to you concisely. So in Asia, there's less liquidity around in the books, right? Price is less liquid in terms of the state of the order book. So it takes a lot less volume to push price in one direction or another, meaning that the intent that gets displayed here, these imbalances, aren't as significant as the ones that occur in high volume periods, which are a lot larger to generate, so to speak, right? So this array which gets created and priced in during Asia over here is a lot less significant than this one here, right, which was punched in during London, right, on the Thursday. Why? Because the amount of volume that was required to do this was a lot more and a lot significant than the one here, right? So these are more significant. You don't want to be trading really away from these, because they hold a lot less significance in the market. Not that you can't trade away from them, but you just want to be very cautious. So you see, we tap into this, right? We're going to drop into that M15 now to just gain a bit more clarity. So that's our H1 done. We're now on M15. So we had PMI, I think German PMI releasing at 8, around 8. So that came out. Pretty sure that's what created this stuff here. But what I want you to realize is that on DXY, we took out this previous day's low. So DXY created divergence. In fact, I have a thing for that already. Bang, if I go over to DXY, you will see that brings us here, right? So we take that liquidity out. This becomes buy side liquidity on DXY, right? And that's what we're looking at more or less at this moment in time. So we've taken out previous day's high on DXY. And once that has happened, once we get that divergence, you can begin to anticipate that there may be a potential reversal in the markets, meaning that now what area can we target? If we've taken out sell side liquidity and we're injecting new liquidity to the upside, where can that be traded towards, right? What would we be targeting? Where could that be offloaded and distributed at? This is the most logical opposing pool right now, right? And what would we need to see to start getting involved in longs? Well, some kind of shift, right? Market shift above here, body close above that, leaving some kind of array between here and here, right? And if we can get some kind of pullback that makes sense, we can begin to go long. That's the thought process at this point in the day. So if we start bringing in price, okay, cool. So you don't get body close above this, but you get these arrays here, right? And at this point, I'm gonna again shift this over to London time, right? So you're looking at 8:45, right? No pullback into that array, and at this point, you're very much in poor conditions, right? Or you're not being dealt a nice set of cards to play with, because even if you do get in at that imbalance right here, that proximal line, you only get a 1 to 1.42. If you manage to, you know, kind of get in at an OB, yeah, you get a bit of a better RR, but at this rate, it looks like price is going to take that out before we get any kind of pullback. But let's see. So we've now induced the M15 intent. So everything that was inefficient over here, we've induced it on M15. On H1, don't think we do that just yet. What I'm going to do is punch in another candle, another data set right there. Right, do we body close above that? Yep, I think we do. Do we body close above that? No, we don't. So we hold that M50, the H1 imbalance, right? Again, not great. You don't want to be getting involved in that. You don't want to be trying to shoot these longs while the H1 imbalance is holding. It's the same scenario that we spoke about here, right? Trying to go long into this opposing imbalance when the most recent flows are bearish, right? It's a tricky game to play. Anyway, so at this point, the longs were off for me, right? Especially due to the fact that it's now outside of our main window. It's already a sketchy trade. Don't really want to get involved, but you see, boom, 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 boom. If we just keep playing it, that price ends up taking out the Asia high, right? So that play on the day was there. We just didn't get the nicest setup to get involved, right? We had Trump speaking at 5, I believe. All right, so if we play this forward a bit more, yeah, Trump came and spoke, and that's what delivered price to that final target that we had from yesterday, right, which was very nice to see. So you see the playbook was extremely simple. We take out the lower end of the range, right? We deliver to the upside. We only want to play this. We wouldn't have wanted to be involved in this, right? That's your play for the day. And yeah, and then this is all, you know, some stuff that you didn't want to be involved in. It's Friday evening, New York session, and you've got Trump speaking. There was nothing to really be playing at here. So that is a wrap for what happened today, guys. I hope you found it informative. I hope you didn't get your hands chopped up and burnt. And yeah, I will see you next week.